It's time for the Onyx News. Extraterrestrials, time anomalies, dimensions, remote viewing, UFOs, UAPs, and USOs, ghostly encounters, abductions, Bigfoot, and more. Your end of the week news source for everything unexplained. Here is your host for the Onyx News Podcast, Margie K.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Onyx News. We are here every Friday evening, and we always have a very interesting episode, and I have a fantastic one for you tonight. I am Margie K, and we will be here this evening with Mr. Larry Costa. Larry is an exceptional psychic medium with a diverse range of extraordinary abilities. He's clairvoyant, clairaudient, does automatic typing, and directly channels his spirit guide, Wallace. Larry's profound connection with Wallace is the foundation of his psychic journey. Beyond his psychic talents, Larry is also a visionary in the world of media production, responsible for the captivating streaming video series Paranormal is Normal. Larry's prowess extends to the realm of healing as a world-renowned massage therapist and a vocalist and actor, earning him global recognition and accolades. Welcome to the program, Larry.
Here.
There we go. Okay. So glad to see you this evening.
Thank you very much.
You and I have a little story to tell tonight.
we certainly do. We have a history.
Yes, and we're going to talk about your new book and how all that came about. But let's go back a little bit further. Let's go back to, how did you get interested in music and acting and massage therapy and all of that?
You know, it's quite interesting. I'm one of those types of people that gets an idea and I actually follow through with it. So when I was younger, I used to love massages and being in the whole holistic arena of life and bettering my body and my mind. So it was a natural step for me to become a massage therapist. And what's interesting is when I went to school for it, I said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be the best in the world. And lo and behold, I was voted best in the world several times by Tatler magazine, Vogue magazine. I was on many talk shows like Good Morning America, things of that nature. And what's really interesting is one day I got a telephone call from London from Penguin Publishing, and they asked me to write a textbook on massage and spa treatments and other types of different modalities of massage, which was really nice. So that took me to a whole nother stratosphere in the massage arena, which was mind-blowing at the time. It was really wonderful. And I opened up several spas in New York City. Spa Lab was one of them, the Parlor Spa, and Life is Beautiful, all throughout Manhattan. And I did that most of my working life. And when it came time to semi-retire, I decided to become an actor and a singer. And the reason I decided to do that was because I knew I had a talent. And I wanted to do it before I got too old. And what's really interesting, I was talking with a friend of mine over the telephone. He's a psychic in Michigan. And he was talking to his spirit guides. And he says, Larry, he says, why am I seeing you in a restaurant with gunshots? I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, it's kind of interesting. He said, the guides are laughing and I see movie cameras. Now, this is before I started acting. I said, I really don't know. But lo and behold, less than a year later, I was starring in a movie called Larry Ravioli, where I was playing a gangster, and it was a comedy. And I was singing on stage, and there was gunshots and people getting killed in a restaurant.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, it was really fun. And the spirit guides actually helped me with my acting and singing because they wrote songs for me. They wrote a Christmas song called 6 Cups of Eggnog. And that song gets like 1 million views, 1 million streams every Christmas. It's really pretty amazing. So I wrote that song. It was the first song I ever wrote. And that was the first song I ever recorded professionally. And it just went right to the top. Really.
It's a good song. I've heard it. Yeah, you've got a YouTube channel, of course, where people can go.
YouTube channel, Larry Costa.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's everywhere. It's on Spotify, Pandora. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah, and you have, if I may say, I'm sure you've never heard this before, but your voice reminds me a little bit of Frank Sinatra.
That's right. Frank Sinatra, Robert Goulet, I hear, if you remember him.
Oh yes.
Yes. Yeah. And
the new
one.
Crooner. That's what they call you guys.
The crooner.
Crooners.
The crooner.
Yeah.
Bublé. What's his name? Michael Bublé.
Mm-hmm. And Harry Connick.
Harry Connick Jr. Yeah. That's right. Right. Yeah.
And and that type of music is coming back big time.
Absolutely. About 2 or 3 years ago, I got a call. It's really weird how my life works. I get telephone calls out of the blue of these wonderful things. And I got this telephone call from this woman. She was in Austria, and she had written an album of songs that were love songs in international flair. And she wanted me to sing them. So out of the blue, I got a telephone call, sing my songs. So like people, they spend their lives looking for that brass ring, looking for that album. They keep chasing it. They want to sing, and it never happens. But then for me, somehow or another, it's like it's from God. It's from the angels, and they give it to me, and they do this for a reason, I think. And I sang an album. It's called I Love You So Much. And it's a wonderful, beautiful international style. These songs are amazing. Absolutely mind-blowing. I sing some songs in Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish. Don't speak it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they're gorgeous. Beautiful.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Well, that's amazing. Let's talk about your the book series that you've been working on. That you have number 6 coming up, I believe.
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting. I'm working on a book series. It's called The Odyssey of Adrien Stone. And it's following the life of this character named Adrien Stone, who's a psychic medium. What's happening is I'm working with a set of angels, okay? They're here in my house. They talk to me, and I've seen them. And what they do is, there's one in particular, and he speaks through me, and I speak into the microphone. I dictate his words. So I'm dictating the books from beginning to end, 150,000 words per novel, nonstop, which is a feat in itself. From beginning to end, without going back and inserting and putting in new things. It just isn't like that. I'm doing it as if he's reading the book to me, and I'm speaking his words.
Yeah,
which is amazing.
That is amazing to say.
I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer. I've authored books, but they were on stuff that I did as a living. It's different. These are fantasy books, and I'm not a fantasy writer. I'm not an author in that type of way. Mm-hmm. And someone mentioned to me last week that there was a woman about 100 years ago, and she wrote some books. She was a housewife, and she was working on the Ouija board, and she channeled a spirit named Patience Worth. And this spirit spelled out words on the Ouija board, and the woman's husband wrote them down, and they were novels because the spirit wanted her books written. So she did it from beyond the grave through the woman.
I remember that story.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I have read about that.
That's what they're doing with me. Except now I'm working with 7 angels, and they're telling me these stories. They're each taking their turn, talking through him to me, and I say it into the microphone. And then the computer does it automatically. So when I wrote the book that you published, the Wallace book, I typed it. They used my fingers to type the words.
So automatic typing.
Automatic typing. Yeah. But then after that, now we have channeling come through my mouth, which is a lot easier. I'll tell you that. It is. It's a lot easier.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, when I was typing that book, the Wallace book, I had to get like Bengay rub from my forearms because it was nonstop and it was super fast. The typing from them manipulating my fingers. I'm not a professional typist, but they had my fingers going a mile a minute. It was crazy, crazy.
Were there any mistakes that had to be corrected?
There were some mistakes, and I had to get a keyboard, the one that's shaped like kind of slanted, so that my fingers would fall on it naturally. You know? Yeah.
Well, let's talk about how the Wallace book came about. First of all, I get a call from Mark Wentz.
Yeah.
He's a physicist, a friend of yours, a friend of mine. I work with Mark on investigating cases. And he calls me one day and he says, Margie, I think you need to meet this guy named Larry Costa. He's got a book, and he says, I think you're the one to publish it. So then you and I got on the phone and we talked for quite some time. And towards the end of the conversation, I felt this energy come into my office, right where I'm sitting right now, came from my right side, moved into me. It was like static electricity. And so I knew something was going on. There was a presence there. And Wallace spoke directly to me, and he said, you need to publish this book. And as if that weren't enough, and you and I are still talking on the phone while this is going on. And you told me that Wallace had told you the same thing, that I needed to publish this book. My friend Valiant Thor shows up and he says, you need to put your book on hold, my book, that I'm trying to write about him, and publish Larry's book. I said, okay, that's what I'm doing. I always do what Thor says. It's fruitless to try to do anything else. So I knew that was the thing to do. And then you sent me the manuscript. And I will say this is the first time that I've only had to make a couple of little edits in a manuscript before it gets published. Of course, I do all the layout and all of that, but the editing part. So Wallace was correct. he did a good job writing the book, Larry. And
I'm not a writer.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, when I wrote my massage book, right? It took a year. A year.
Yeah.
And that book only took a month. Yeah, and that was my first book. And the Adrien Stone books, the novels I'm writing, I just finished number 6, and that's in 4 months. Nobody writes 6 novels that are 150,000 words each in 4 months.
No.
It's unheard of.
No.
And they're good stories. They're better than Harry Potter. Better than Harry Potter.
Really?
Oh my God.
Wow.
It gives me chills. This guy, he's a living person. He's like a psychic medium that lives alone in a castle in England. And he's raised by the ghosts of his ancestors. And then he falls in love with this female ghost, this woman ghost. And he has to go to different dimensions and things because he finds out that he's really a messenger of God. So towards the end of all the novels, we find out really that there's a lot of messages from God in the books. Now, I'm not really a religious person. I mean, I was born a Catholic, but I don't go to church. I don't pray to God. I don't do any of that stuff. I don't praise Jesus or any of that. But there's a lot of religion in the book that are messages of how to live a good life. It's not like, go to church, listen to me. It's not like that. It's messages of how to be a better person, of how to live a good life. And they're simple things, but when you see it there and you see that he is living his best life with this woman who's a ghost, which really is a mixed relationship, it works, so it really just shows you how life can be in a wonderful way without pushing it in your face and saying, here it is. It's just such a wonderful, beautiful story. It makes me cry when I write it. Tears are coming down my face.
Whoa.
There's a character in that book. I'm going to turn it. She goes by the name of the school marm. Okay. She's from now these are real people, real spirits, and they're telling their story. She was in the workhouse in England when she was a child. So she had like bread and water her whole life. And she had one book to read with all the people. So she was raised in this workhouse. And then when she got out, she didn't understand what love was. And she met this man and she fell in love with him, but he was a widower and he had 2 children. So she tried to raise this family as a wife with him because she had no option because she was a woman. She had to marry him. But then he died and the children in a fire on the pier in Brighton, England. So there she was alone again. So what is she going to do? So she becomes a teacher, the school marm. But she taught through fear and terror because if she didn't keep those kids in line, she would lose her job and go live in the workhouse again.
Oh my.
And she died of a heart attack screaming at the kids. And then Adrien meets her as a spirit later because he has to learn about love, compassion, and fear. So when he meets her to learn about fear, he helps her understand that she doesn't need to be like that. And when she finally gets it, it's so heartwarming. My hair is standing on the ends right now of my arms. It's just the way it's written. It's so beautiful. It's just so beautiful.
So this book, the books are about real people.
Yes.
Real spirits.
Real people, but it's presented
as fiction
way so that people will read it.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now I'm going to tell you something. When I was meeting these characters, these actual spirits, I was laying in bed. I woke up in the middle of the night. They wake me up every single night at 2:30 a.m., without a doubt, every night. And I'm laying in bed and I look over and there's a woman laying in my bed. Her hair was up. She had on a dress. She was from the 1700s, without a doubt. The only difference is she was pearlescent, like opal. Her whole thing was opal. I could see every detail, but the essence of her was opal. I don't know if she was a ghost, an angel, a spirit. I have no idea. But I saw her for at least 3 seconds, and then she just disappeared like a soap bubble. Not a sound. But she laid there on her back. Her eyes were closed, and she was older. She had to be at least 50 years old. And she laid there. And I'm not sure if she's Isabella, the girlfriend of Adrien, older, because Isabella's from the 1700s. So I'm not sure if she was Isabella or not.
She might have
Sometimes
been
they show up,
visiting you.
right? Sometimes they show up. They don't tell me who they are, you know?
Well, I've had similar things happen, so I understand that. And sometimes when you're talking about a subject, that thing will come up.
Mm.
It's like Wednesday this week and today, I was talking about Mothman with my
Right.
assistant. And 6-7 feet away from me, I have my book Winged Aliens and the Mothman statue next to it, little figurine that somebody made me. It comes flying across the room at us.
Really?
Yes. Now, that was a message.
Yeah.
And the message is it's real.
Right.
Okay. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's similar to what you are experiencing there. Do you have all of the characters in these books shown up to you?
And more.
Okay.
And more. Yeah. There's a college in England, the Arthur Findlay Psychic College. Have you ever heard of it?
No,
Me either. I never heard of it, but I was sitting in my office and I'm writing, talking. All of a sudden, I started to hear something in my head. Hello, Lawrence. They call me Lawrence. They don't call me Larry. They call me Lawrence. Mm-hmm. My name is Arthur Findlay. I said, okay, are you allowed to talk to me? Because there's a new spirit guide. His name is the Warrior. Okay. He brings everyone for the books. He's like the manager. So I said, are you allowed to be here? He said, I'm not a spirit in the way that you know the spirits. He said, I come from the Arthur Findlay College where we teach psychic mediums. I want you to write about my school in your book.
Whoa.
Right. So he lives at the school and he was transmitting to me telepathically.
And so is he alive or dead?
He's dead.
Okay.
But he used to be alive in the school.
And this is his school that's still functioning.
That's still functioning.
Okay.
That's still functioning.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's okay. So
yeah. I never heard of it.
No, I'm gonna have to look that up and maybe go visit it.
I know.
That is just crazy. How do you get any sleep or do anything that you want to do? I mean, it sounds like they keep you busy 24/7.
Well, there's a tinnitus sound. Okay. So in the tinnitus sound, those are the angels. And it's like a bee, like a inside tinnitus, but it also sounds like air escaping a tire. Okay. And then there's the Warrior, and I speak him. And then there's Frank, which helps with the books. Frank was an author when he was alive. So he's the one that helps me formulate the books. Okay. And he speaks. But the tinnitus ones are the ones that wake me up a lot because there's 7 of them in there. Right. And then, of course, they walk around, or they'll be sleeping in the bed like that woman. Now, the Warrior is quite interesting. He is Hawaiian, and he was a Hawaiian warrior. Now, here's what's interesting. When he showed up, right, he said he was a Hawaiian warrior from 3,000 years ago. So I did my research. I checked these things out. Everything I found said that Hawaiians went there only 2,000 years ago. So I'm like, this guy's, not real. He's something else. He's trying to trick me. But then I did deeper research, and I found out that it's true. There were people living in Hawaii 3,000 years ago before the Hawaiians went there. So just because we call it Hawaii now doesn't mean there weren't other people there before that.
Well, yeah, just like on every continent on the planet.
Right, exactly. So yeah, it's true. There were other people there before. And he showed up in my bedroom. He had on full regalia. He had like this metal looking headgear that came down. I could see his hair was curly. He looked Hawaiian or Filipino or something. And he had like leather chest plates and arm plates and stuff. Yeah, it was really bizarre. But I only see them between 7-10 seconds, and then they leave. That's pretty much it.
So they're not sitting there bothering you for hours on end.
No, but they talk, and they don't shut up when I'm driving, when I'm eating, when I'm sitting here right now. They're telling me stuff.
Have you ever asked them, hey, could you just talk to me between this time and leave me alone the rest of the time?
Yes. And they say, okay, we're sorry. But then they go on and tell me how sorry they are.
Okay. Yes, that's not helpful. Okay.
Right.
Well, we're up on a break right now. We'll be back in about 3 minutes, and we'll talk more with Larry Costa and his new book, Meeting Wallace. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Are you thinking about purchasing a wood-fired heating or cooking appliance but don't know where to start? The new book, Wood-Fired Heating and Cooking, will guide you through the process and make the decision much easier. Find out about wood stoves, wood-burning fireplace inserts, masonry heaters, cook stoves, brick ovens, and more. Learn about operation and maintenance, buying and storing wood, even how to make your own charcoal. A bonus section includes delicious recipes for cooking in a wood-burning oven, grill, tandoori oven, or smoker. The wise homeowner, prepper, or homesteader will have the ability to heat their home with wood when the power goes out or to save money on increasing gas bills. Wood-fired heating and cooking is available at Amazon. Visit www.woodfiredpub.com for more information. That's woodfiredpub.com.
Are we alone in the universe? The most important question facing humanity is on the verge of being settled once and for all. The Mutual UFO Network has been at the forefront of this journey for nearly 50 years. Our members worldwide are dedicated to the research, documentation, and awareness that will shape the future of humanity. Won't you join us?
We are back with NX News. I'm your host, Margie K, and right here on the KUNX Digital Broadcasting Network, where we now have over 30 shows for you, so don't miss any of them. We've got something for everybody. Either listen on any radio app or go to YouTube to our channel and see many of our great shows there. This evening, we're talking with Larry Costa. Larry, let me get you back here on the stage. That's good. Let's talk about this.
Yes, the book.
What inspired you to write this book?
I had no option. I had no option. I was told to write it. So I'll tell you how it came to be.
Yeah.
So when I was young, I always saw spirits, but it was something random. Okay. So I never pursued any of my psychic abilities. It was just something on the back burner. However, I moved to Florida, and during the pandemic, I needed something to do. So I bought a camera and I wanted to do a streaming video show after the television stuff started to dry out because nobody was making shows because of the pandemic. So I said, let's just keep something going. So I started to produce my own show called Paranormal is Normal. So I got a really good host for that. And we went to different haunted locations throughout Florida. And we had a very particular ghost box that would scan different frequencies to record voices that would talk to us for the show. So I would go home and I would prepare to edit these segments for the show. And as I was listening to the streaming video, I would start to hear messages directed towards me. Hello, Lawrence. What are you doing here? Etc. All kinds of things. Lawrence this, Lawrence that. It was crazy. I write about all of this in that book, by the way. And what happens is it was my psychic frequencies picking up the voices of the spirits. So sometimes people could hear them and sometimes they could not. Okay. So I was like, all right, something's going on here. So they started directing me to do things like, why not make a recording in your house? See if you can hear us there. So I started doing that. And then it started to really take off. Lawrence, we're going to teach you how to do automatic writing. So then I would listen to the recording, and then they taught me how to do automatic writing. But from the automatic writing, I would read what was there, but it wasn't necessarily what I was reading that was important. It was the sound that the pencil made. So it was the frequency sound of the pencil on the paper that was capturing the sound of the spirit voices that I could hear psychically.
Oh my
So that's
goodness.
how I heard them. Okay. And through that, so through that, they would direct me to do other things. They would say, go take a picture of the Christmas tree. I'd say, why? Just do it. Okay. I'd go and take a picture of the Christmas tree. And I'd go back to the computer. I'd look at the Christmas tree. And then I'm like, oh my God. Yep, that's one of the pictures. So you notice that there are big flowers on that Christmas tree, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they would tell me to go back and take another picture. So I would. But then the second picture, one of the flowers would be manipulated to resemble them. There you go. Look at that. That's a spirit named Tommy. He was about 30 years old and he died of an overdose, drug overdose. He's someone that I knew when he was alive. He's the son of a friend of mine. And he looked exactly like that when he was alive, mohawk and everything. Then as we progressed further, there were more and more and more incredible types of sculptures in those paper flowers on the Christmas tree. Then I was informed that that's something called calling cards. When a spirit comes to visit you, they leave this calling card somewhere in your house or wherever you are, and it resembles them. But for me, they did it on flowers, or they did it on my sheets on the bed. They would manipulate the sheets to resemble them, or it would resemble a message that they wanted me to know. One example is there was a scene in the sheets that looked like a man that was a scribe from like 2,000 years ago with the hood and the cape with parchment and a quill pen scribing. And that was before I started writing the book. So that was them telling me I'm going to be starting to write stuff for them, which was really interesting. And I do have a picture of that still. And it was so amazing. So that's how they started communicating different ways to me, was through these paper flowers. And we have a lot of those pictures in the book. And some of them are just, they look like people. They look like,
they do. It's incredible.
It's incredible
how they can manipulate that.
Absolutely. And then you also have, I believe, an audio clip from one of the early recordings. And I asked the guy, I say I'm having a conversation with this guy. And I said, do you have another message for me? And then you hear some static. And then you hear him say his full name, which is Gifford E. Hardy. He goes, Gifford E. Hardy. And through some research, I found his headstone, because in another recording later, he told me where he was from and things of that nature. So I was able to find his headstone in Wisconsin.
Okay. Well, let's play that right now for everybody.
So it's first I talk, and then in the recording with the static, you hear Gifford E. Hardy.
Okay, here we go.
Do you have any messages? Gifford E. Hardy.
Yeah, let me play that.
Do you have any messages? Gifford E. Hardy.
Yeah, plain as day. Indeed.
Gifford E. Hardy.
And you found his gravestone. Where was that? What city?
Oh, I don't remember it at this point, but that's on YouTube. That's on YouTube. Oh, here's an interesting story. So when I was doing the recordings, there was a voice that came through. He just said his name. What was his name? I don't remember his name. Austin. His name was Austin, and had a gravelly voice. Austin, right? And the spirits direct you to do things sometimes, like you don't know, right? So I'm like, the voice stuck with me because it was very distinctive. And I was on Facebook one day, and something told me to check out this particular group about people that want to get messages from others that have passed on. And the first one that was there was this girl in upstate New York. I'm looking for a message from my boyfriend. His name is Austin. I said, oh, maybe there's a connection. So I said, I don't normally do this, but I was producing a show and I have this recording. Can you tell me if this is his voice? So I sent it to her, and she wrote back with all the exclamation points, that's him. And I said, okay. She said, not only that, I'm going to send it to his father.
Oh.
She did. The father confirmed that that was him. But then she sent me a clip of his voice leaving her a phone message 3 days before he died. It's the exact same voice. He says his name. It's like if you could put them on top of each other, it's him talking. So that was him reaching out to her. He directed me to her.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
That's also on YouTube. I put the voices there for comparison. It's amazing. Yeah. But those are recordings. Like for me personally, those recordings are like kindergarten now because of what I can do, see, hear, and say. It's like, it's a whole nother world. It's a whole nother world.
Well, it's a learning process that start off with baby steps and then increase. And And
Yeah.
now, wow, it seems
And
like that's engulfing your entire life.
exactly. And these spirits, they teach me things. Like they'll literally say, okay, today we're going to teach you this. But they teach me through experience. So they'll show me something or they'll tell me something for me to experience it. So it's not like they stand up at the blackboard and, you know, write it out. And I'm like, okay, I've learned that. I need to experience it in order to learn it.
Yes.
So that's how they do it. And you know,
Mhm.
I have no one to turn to say, what's going on here with me? What am I doing? What am I hearing, seeing, saying? What's going on? I really have no one else to talk to because, quite frankly, I don't know anyone else that can do what I can do. I really don't. Not all this stuff. I haven't met them yet. I really haven't.
Okay. There's one part in your book that's very interesting, and I think people would find interesting, and it's about this little house. What's the story behind that?
That house is very interesting. That's what they were teaching me, how to listen to them. So what they did was, through the recordings, they were trying to get me to get off the recordings and into hearing them in my mind. So they started with the recording and they were telling me that they wanted a house, an apartment, that they were living in my spare bedroom. And they wanted an apartment that fits 11 spirits. So I'm like, what do you mean? Just get it. They said, buy a Barbie camper. So I said, okay. So I went to the computer and we were going on Amazon and they were walking me through the steps of what to purchase. And I was like, okay, Barbie campers are expensive. What else can I get? Then I found out that there were spirit houses, something called spirit houses, and on the internet. And I said, is that what you want? They said, yes, get that. But then they were also expensive. So then I found 3D puzzle houses on Amazon that were inexpensive, like that cost $20. So I said, I'll get you this. So they walked me through the process of purchasing something that they wanted. And then it came time to choose it. And I said, which one do you want? Get the one with the blue top roof. It'll be our castle. And then a woman chimes in and she says, I want a banana. Another one said, I remember popcorn. Then the other one says, so get it. Then another woman comes in and she says, is he your husband? And the other woman says, mind your own business. And then fighting.
So this kind of reminds me of that show on TV called Ghosts, where all the ghosts are fighting with each other, and you know, and only the woman can see them and the husband can't.
Right.
Oh my gosh. And to think that, well, they can shrink themselves down to a small size, obviously, if they're going to live in a place like that. Did you furnish the house?
Space. They don't need space. But it was really just a learning experience for me. They don't really need to be in there. It was a learning experience for me to follow their direction.
Yeah.
So that I could write these books.
Yeah.
These books are important. That's what it all came down to. They wanted me to be able to hear what they say, to follow their direction, to write these books. That's what it came down to. All of these training. And it took years. It's what, 3 years already, 4 years. Non-stop, 4 years.
I wonder if there's going to be an end now. It sounds like not.
Nope.
Probably not. Yeah, you'll just keep going.
They've already told me, and I'm already getting the dreams, and my dreams have changed. They're now interactive. You know how dreams jump around? You're here for a few seconds and you're there and here and there in a dream, right? My dreams are no longer like that. My dreams are location-based and I interact.
Yeah, you're lucid dreaming. You're really having those experiences.
I'm having those experiences.
What about,
I'm there.
Are you astral traveling?
I don't even know what that is, to be honest, but he does this thing to me, and my body is asleep, but my brain is awake, and I talk to him in my head.
That's
And
astral.
then I fly out of the house.
Yeah.
And I go to these places.
That's what's happening. You're astral traveling. And you're
Okay.
really having an experience while your body's asleep. So you're getting rest. Your physical body's getting rest, but your consciousness is fully awake.
Fully awake. Fully awake.
Yeah.
And some of the things I see, I don't understand. I don't understand. Like the other night, he said, put on these blinders. So I put on these blinders, and completely dark. But then he made me look through them with my eyes, my mind's eye.
Uh-huh.
And then there was this white wall in front of me. And then through the white wall, it was like it was made out of cotton or something. And it just moved closer, and it moved closer, and it moved closer. And then it went through me. And when it went through me, I saw all these people standing in my room. I said, who are all these people? He said, don't worry about them. They're always there. And then he said, can you see me? I said, yes. And he walked over and he touched me on my forehead. He did something here. And then he had this thing, and it was like a scarf, like a material, right? And it had fringe on the ends, and it was folded up. And he walked over and he said, kiss this, right? So I kissed it. And then he said, thank you. And he walked away, and he went over there. And then he said, go back. And then I went like this, and I went back into my body. So then now he's telling me he wants me to study. Now this is bizarre, okay? He wants me to study the Jewish religion. Now, I'm not religious. I'm not religious.
Right.
He said, I don't have to convert. I don't have to denounce Jesus. I don't have to do all that stuff. He says, I want you to learn the Jewish religion. I said, why? He said, that's the true religion. He said, learn about God and learn about the real Bible. I said, okay, I'll try. I'll learn it. I'll read it. I'll figure it out. Why not? So then, doing some research on the internet, this thing that he said, kiss, it's a Jewish thing that they wear. I don't remember what it's called. And it has like these tassels on it. And it's some kind of prayer thing. And the men kiss it after they pray.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
How do you explain this?
Yeah, that is just wild. The whole story is wild. Your whole life is wild.
I can't believe it. I mean,
now I've got to ask an obvious question that I know people are going to ask about. You're seeing angels.
yeah.
Do they have wings?
All right. Hold on one second. I'm going to ask him something.
Okay.
All right. The day that I saw the warrior, I was also introduced to someone else, okay? And that person had wings. However, it wasn't like an angel from the Bible, okay? It was a man, and the wings were closed, and the head was tucked under the wings. But the head came out, the wings were closed the whole time in the front, and he was a man of color. And he had very defined eyebrows, and his hair was up, very groomed. He was like perfection. Like if you thought about like a genie face from years ago, like in the movies, you know?
Okay.
That's what he looked like. Now, I don't know if that's one of the angels because they won't tell me. Okay. However, just after that, I saw the 7 angels come up out of the ground who had only heads, no bodies. They were transparent heads that rised like bubbles out of the ground. They meandered and they were looking at me, but they had no expression whatsoever, as if they were a marble sculpture with no eye, no definition, just nothing. And they were like looking at me. It was so weird. And the weirdest part is, before it happened, I said to them, I don't want to do it. And they said, do not worry, you will have no fear. And I had no fear. I had no fear at all, none whatsoever. And here's another weird part. It was in my bedroom, and I was sitting on the edge of the bed. And this just dawned on me. He had me move over, and he said, go over, sit over there, get more comfortable on the carpet. So in that position, I was kneeling. And it just dawned on me, he made me go and kneel. So I was kneeling. I guess in reverence of these angels. Without realizing that I was doing it. It just dawned on me.
The story is fascinating, and I know there's much, much more to it. And we're going to have to revisit this as time goes on, because there's going to be new, bigger things coming up. I could sense it.
And this is the first time, just so you know, that I'm letting all this be known. This is the first time. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I hear now is the time from Wallace.
You hear it.
Saying it. Yes.
Yeah.
He said he just came back into my office.
See? Because I was asking.
Oh my gosh. Did you ask him to come here? Well, he did. Yeah, I can sense him. He's got his hand on my shoulder right now.
You feel him. Yeah. This is
just, I mean, how everything came together with Mark Wentz and with us meeting, and then Wallace. I think Wallace orchestrated this, really, Larry.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
He did. And so,
right from the beginning.
Yeah. Here's the book, Meeting Wallace, The True Story of Spirit Guide Contact by Larry Costa. And
every word of that is channeled through my fingers and typed on Amazon.
Published by NX Media. It's available at Amazon. Go get a copy of the book, everybody. It is absolutely fascinating. And you're going to want to read that, because there's more to come.
Oh, yeah.
There's more good stuff to come.
Definitely.
Yeah. Wallace is going to see to it.
You're right. Yeah. Absolutely. Gosh. Wow.
Thank you so much for coming on the program tonight, Larry. It's been fascinating.
Thank you so much.
It's so nice to get to know a little bit more about you. And since we're working together,
right.
That's a good thing.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. And thanks, everyone.
All right. Well, thank you, Larry. We will be here again next week, next Friday night. And I have got a lineup of guests that is super, super good for the next 3 months, everybody. Booked, totally booked for 3 months right here on the NX News, on the NX Network. See you here next time.